got a chance to speak to Judd Apatow. This was Wednesday after the show. We taped an interview. He's got a new movie that's on demand starting today, and it stars Pete Davidson, Marissa Tomei, and the great comedian Bill Burr. It's called The King of Staten Island, and here is Judd Apatow, the writer, director, producer of the movie.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you, sir?
Look at that hair, beard.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Look
at you. Yeah, you let yourself go.
Oh, I thought I let it go in a beautiful direction there.
If they do Castaway 2, I think you're ready.
Let me get all dressed up for this.
Okay, yeah. Hey, you can show some cleavage. I'm all right with that.
Come on, it's good.
I'm taping it, so I'm ready if you are.
Something's hanging. I gotta make sure. Come on, Dan. How's it look? What's this?
Let me see.
This?
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, you have daughters. Your wife. Didn't anybody help you today?
No one helps me. No one cares how I look, Dan.
I was wondering about this. Comedian.
Have we started?
Yeah,
we started, Dan? We started. Okay,
yes.
Good.
You ready to start? In three, two. Writer, producer, director, comedian. If I said you can only have one title.
Yes.
Which one?
I guess writer. I guess it all starts there. I'll say that.
Wait, why not comedian?
Comedian is close as well, but with comedian, I get comedian, but with writer, it's connected to a bunch of other things. It's comedian. Let's switch it.
How often do you get a neighbor who wants to pitch something to you or try to be funny to you?
It's pretty rare because I think it takes some courage to pitch a funny joke or movie idea. And usually when somebody does, it does not go well. I used to do this thing on stage where I would say to the crowd, I will listen to your pitches for movies. And I would bring 3 people on stage and I would say, pitch me your movie ideas. And they were always insane. No one ever had a good one. They were all crazy.
But that would be a great show. I would love to see you on stage with people doing their pitches.
I think we just made a show.
I think we did. I think. Did I just pitch you a show that got greenlit?
I think it's as greenlit as that mint sweatsuit you're wearing.
It's not a sweatsuit. It's just a top. I don't have pants to go along with it. I think this is why comedians hang out with comedians, Judd, because you don't want to hear other people try to be funny.
Yes.
Like non-funny people, comedians like to hang out with funny people. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's true. It's rare that a good comedian wants to hang out with a terrible, unfunny comedian. That's why you see like groups of comedians who hang out together because they so enjoy a good joke that if someone's really not good at hanging and being funny, they really exclude them. It's brutal.
Sandler is really good at that. It's kind of a generous laugh. Like I don't know if it's real, but when he hangs with us, he's really good at just sort of a fake laughter.
I would say this. He must find you funny. He wants you around. I think that's real laughter.
I think that's due to sports, Judd, not comedy.
Oh, you think he tolerates you trying to be funny to have fun sports talk with you?
Yeah.
This is possible. This you may have figured something out right there.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yes. All right. How long does it take before you have the idea of this movie, The King of Staten Island, before you actually start writing a script?
Well, Pete Davidson and I met when we were doing Trainwreck. He did a cameo. And after his cameo, Bill Hader liked him so much, he recommended him to Lorne Michaels, and he got Saturday Night Live. This is in 2014, 6 years ago. So we've been working on it since then. We worked on a different movie. I gave him an idea for a movie to write that turned out to be a terrible idea, and he probably wasted 2 years on a bad, goofy idea. And then we were like, I guess we should think of a better idea. And then slowly we started talking about doing something much more personal that came from his life.
Yeah, because it's not loosely based on his life. It's based on his life from what I've read about Pete.
Well, Pete, his father was a firefighter who died on 9/11. And that was very traumatic. He was 7 years old when that happened. And we talked about creating a fictional story that could get to all the real emotions and how it affected his family. So, in the movie, he plays a slacker pothead who's going nowhere in life. And in real life, Pete's a guy who was on Saturday Night Live by the time he was 20. So there are big differences, but within the story, you get to a lot of deep emotional stuff.
Yeah, and you get that dead father joke out of the way early in the
Yes.
in the movie. But was that by design? Like, let's take it out of the room here.
I think that it happened instinctually. Ricky Velez, who's a great comedian who is a friend of Pete's, was in a scene early in the movie, and we knew we wanted to show that his friends think it's okay to joke about the fact that his dad is dead, because obviously Pete's character is lying. He isn't over it, but he tells them he's over it. And then Ricky improvised, knock, knock, who's there? Not your dad. But I also think he only had the courage to improvise that joke because he's one of Pete's best friends. And he knew that is the kind of joke that they would tell with each other, because only your closest friends would go that dark.
The movie is The King of Staten Island. We're talking to Judd Apatow, the producer, writer, director, comedian, who joins us on the program. I found it interesting, the reaction to Bill Burr, who plays Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei is Pete Davidson's mom, and Bill Burr is a firefighter who starts dating her. And then people's reaction was, God, Bill Burr's good at being serious. And I said, well, if you think about the premise of stand-up comedy, it is really based on drama in a comedian's life and darkness. They just have the ability, comedians have the ability to make it funny. So why wouldn't, Sandler in Uncut Gems? People are like, I didn't know he could be. Robin Williams, the same way. That ability they deal with drama. They just make their drama funny for us. I thought Burr was really, really, really good.
Yes, he is a great actor and a big-hearted guy. So, someone like that who's opinionated and has that bluster, and then when you slowly see his heart and you see how much he cares about Pete, it's very moving, and we were all blown away by his performance. And at the same time, we love his stand-up. He's like a fierce, ridiculously legendary comedian.
What's the movie you wish people ask you more about?
I'm always about Walk Hard. I love Walk Hard. John C. Reilly. It was a parody of Walk the Line and Ray and music biopics. And what's funny is after the movie about Queen came out, there were a lot of articles about Walk Hard that basically said this movie is doing all the tropes that were in Walk Hard. And suddenly there were all these articles like, wait a second, I think Walk Hard might be great. And it's such a silly movie. It really makes me laugh. It's just, I don't do that many movies that are just like airplane type joke fests. And every time it's on, it's the only one of the movies I've worked on that I will watch a lot of it, because there's a lot of little jokes that make me laugh a lot. And then there's people like Eddie Vedder and Jack White and Jackson Brown and Ghostface Killah in it. And I love movies with a lot of cameos like that.
But when do you know you have something special? How deep into the process?
Sometimes when you're shooting, you feel like, I think it's happening. I feel like this is coming together. But when you really know is I ask the editors every day to send me the cuts of what they edited that day. So while I'm shooting, I get links to the scenes from earlier in the week. And usually you could just tell if there's chemistry between all of the actors and actresses. And sometimes some of the scenes are great. And you're like, oh my God, I think, Carell getting his chest waxed is really funny. Because you don't know until you cut it together. It might be crazy funny. And you get very excited.
Is that improv in any way when Carell gets waxed in 40 Year Virgin?
I mean, it's all improvised. We put 4 cameras on him and we just waxed him. And the funny thing is we looked for an actress who also was a professional hair waxer. So we hired this woman to do it. And I think she lied and was not a professional hair waxer because she put some of the wax over his nipple. And I think she came like that close to tearing off his nipple. I mean, he was covered in blood by the.
But you had all of those comedians with cameos, like bringing all of those people together and making them shine has to. I don't know the challenge of doing that.
It's less challenging when they're great. There's always people that you love who haven't had giant opportunities yet. At that time, we knew Jane Lynch from Best in Show. And we thought, well, she's as funny as human beings get. And Craig Robinson just started on The Office, only I think maybe 6 episodes had aired at that point. Mindy Kaling was on The Office as well. And, Kevin Hart did a small part in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Romany Malco was a big
Jonah Hill.
part in it. Jonah Hill has a little part. So we just pick people that crack us up and that we love, and then we hope they have a great moment. And in that movie, weirdly, so many of them really grabbed their moment.
But can you write around, and I don't know the process, so if I sound ignorant, then correct me, but can you write around 4 or 5 really great moments? Like Bridesmaids, when you have Maya out there with her wedding dress and she's, has to use the bathroom. Like, can you write around that, and then you find another scene that you write around, like 3 or 4 of those, and you can make a movie out of that? Or is that maybe stripping this down too much?
Well, I like to look at it like I'm trying to make a great dramatic movie, and if I can get the drama to work, then I can find a way to make it funny. I think if you start with the funny stuff, it's usually bad, and you can feel the story and the emotions just jammed in later. We've all seen those movies where people are just going nuts, and there's not much of a story, and I think those are much harder to get to work than if you're really emotionally invested in something.
Favorite comedy that you watched growing up?
Well, when I was growing up, I loved The Jerk as a kid.
But you idolized Steve Martin, right?
Yes. I mean, I talked like him for years as a child, and The Jerk was like my dream because I was a big fan of his. And then suddenly they're like, oh, he's going to make a movie. And then to me, The Jerk was my dream of what that movie could possibly be. So that was a big movie for me when I was a kid. And then I think as a kid, Fast Times at Ridgemont High was very inspirational because it was both really funny, but had a lot of grounded elements in it. There's a lot of credibility to it as well.
Yeah, you're trying to, and it's weird how those things kind of form what you think humor is. Because when I was growing up, I always thought, well, Bill Murray is funny. And so I gravitated towards that sense of humor. And then Robin Williams came along and I went, no, he's too over the top. He's got to be like Bill Murray. And I don't know if you approach things Steve Martin was a cerebral way of looking at comedy.
Well, there were people I thought were funny that I thought, I don't know how to be funny like that. So I would see people like Paul Reiser and Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno and think, I guess I'm kind of like those guys. I'm from Long Island. I could relate. And then there were people I really worshiped, like all the Monty Python people and Steve Martin or John Belushi. And I would think, well, they're great, but I don't think I'm funny in the way that they're funny. I'm different. I couldn't pull that off.
You always do cameos, or at least there's always small cameos there. Is this your Alfred Hitchcock approach where you're going to be in there and we have to spot you, a cab driver or whatever it might be?
I haven't done that. I was into Disaster Artist. They asked me to play like a nasty producer who yelled at James Franco in the movie. And I was like, okay, I could do that, like jerk Hollywood producer. And I did the scene, and then I saw the movie, and in the credits, it said Judd Apatow as himself.
When you were first pitched LeBron, what was your reaction to, how do I make this work? How do I make him look good?
When we were
working
on the draft, Amy, was writing Bill Hader as a sports medicine doctor. And then the idea came up, what if his best friend is a gigantic star athlete? And immediately LeBron's name came up with no thought that was possible. Usually you start with LeBron and then you just keep, going down and down. You go to like 80 people to get to whatever you can get. Bill said he just did SNL and I think he had a really good time. Let's ask him. And we went to a Laker game, Bill and I. And then we said hi to him afterwards. And the next day we went to lunch with him. And I always remember how exhausted he seemed after the game. It's the next day. And I thought, wow, they really leave it all on the floor. And then his teammates kept walking up and saying hello at the restaurant in the hotel. And they all seemed exhausted. And I thought, man, it's a hard job. They're recovering right now. And then we told him the joke, like, you're the Bruno Kirby in When Harry Met Sally. And he just thought that was hysterical, that he's the best friend. And the joke is that he cares, that he's really tracking the relationship and really cares. and he was hysterical. I mean, he's a very talented actor, and he has got a great sense of humor. That wasn't like me spoon feeding anything. That was genuinely him being riotously funny.
The movie is The King of Staten Island, starring Pete Davidson. It will be available on demand. By the way, Marissa Tomei, spectacular. Nice casting there.
Always great. You can't go wrong there.
No, you cannot.
Hire her, then people think you're a good director, but you're not. It's just her.
Friday, June 12th, it will be available. It's The King of Staten Island. Good luck with the movie, Judd. It's always great to talk to you. And I just want to let you know that I do see other directors and producers behind Sandler's back. So
yes.
I don't need to be tied to the Sandler franchise. I'm just saying. I mean, this
pull you
isn't an
out.
offer. This is just an announcement. That's all this is, Judd. Just an
You're gonna be
announcement.
like one of those stars, when Paramount would lend out the star to MGM out of their contract. I'm gonna have to talk to Sandler and borrow you.
Well, I did ask Sandler, when I die, do you think at the Academy Awards I get up there on the in memoriam?
I think you're an actor. You should be in it.
Well, I'm in 18 movies so far. Like, what is the cutoff point for in memoriam?
I think 8.
James Dean was in 3, Judd. That's it.
I think you should tell them now. I expect it and make it clear.
I'm going to send them a good picture of me right now, just so they can use that. I love the movie. I thought it was wonderful. A lot of laugh out loud moments, and thank you. And Maude did great.
Yes,
your daughter did great.
Really proud.
Yes, should be. Thank you, Judd.
All right, take care. See you, Dad.
That's Judd Apatow. It's the King of Staten Island.